You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 9th day of January, 2023. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first live broadcast is from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That is our live training room and is reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you've never taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael comes on in a few minutes, he will show you exactly how to do it, and there's no credit card required. This is unlike any free trial you've ever taken before, because you'll have access to not only everything that our members have access to, but you'll also have access to around-the-clock support and the opportunity to have multiple one-on-one mentoring sessions, along with the live training room, the platform, the indicators, the alerts, etc. The way we see it is we're willing to invest our time and resources in you so that you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision if you want to invest in yourself. Now, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon Eastern for this broadcast, the afternoon broadcast, which is a different format from the live training room, and it is open to the public. That's everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. It could be a phone, a tablet, a PC, a Mac. We're not picky. There are 2 ways to join the afternoon broadcast. The best way is to go to mytradingiq.com, scroll down to where it says afternoon broadcast, click the link, complete the 30-second registration form. Every trading day going forward, whether you become a member or not, you'll receive an email an hour before the afternoon broadcast starts. In that email will be a link. At 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email, and you'll automatically be logged into our platform. Now, there's going to be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, you're on the fly, but you still want to join the afternoon broadcast live. Simply take that internet-connected device, point the browser to youtube.com/CFRN. It's very easy to remember. You already know youtube.com/CFRN. Also, on our platform, we've had some issues over the last couple of weeks with audio dropping during the afternoon broadcast. If you're logged into our platform and the audio drops, simply point your browser to youtube.com/CFRN and you'll continue to enjoy the broadcast with pristine audio. Okay? I want to put that in the discussion box in a few minutes so that those who come late will be aware of what to do when the audio drops. So let's open with a word of prayer as we do every day. Now, we've spent the past week or a little more talking about what the Bible actually says about money. We've discussed the fact that money is mentioned in the Bible more times than heaven or hell. We've talked about what the Bible says about saving, investing. We've talked about the prosperity gospel versus the poverty gospel. We've talked about, does God really want you to be rich? Today we're going to wrap up this series and we're going to talk about retirement. Retirement can be a scary thing. We look forward to it all of our lives, and then when it arrives, we've all got stories of friends or family who were healthy as a horse and full of energy until they retired, and then they fell into some kind of a malaise over a couple weeks, and poof, they're gone. I do not want you to live with that fear in your heart. Our scripture today, Colossians 3:23, I'll be reading from the Message translation. Servants, do what you're told by your earthly masters. And don't just do the minimum that will get you by. Do your best. Work from the heart for your real master, for God, confident that you'll get paid in full when you come into your inheritance. Keep in mind always that the ultimate master you're serving is Christ. The sullen servant who does shoddy work will be held responsible. Being a follower of Jesus doesn't cover up bad work. I'm going to go ahead and give you one more scripture. Numbers 8:25. This is where God was speaking to Moses. These are your instructions regarding the Levites. At the age of 25, they will join the workforce in the tent of meeting. At the age of 50, they must retire from the work. They can assist their brothers in the tasks in the tent of meeting, but they are not permitted to do the actual work themselves. These are the ground rules for the work of the Levites. So what does the Bible say about retirement? We all like the idea of retirement. After all those years of working hard, progressing in our careers, making sacrifices, we feel like retirement is when we've finally made it. We see it as a season to enjoy all the luxuries we've convinced ourselves we deserve. Reaching age 65 is heralded as a time when you can quit your job, kick your feet up, and let Social Security serve you for a change. But friends, this attitude about retirement is just not biblical. Now, based on our audience demographic, the majority of our members are either already in retirement or are approaching retirement. So this is a very, very important topic today. To fully understand what the Bible says about retirement, we have to go back to the beginning, when God first created man. In Genesis, God creates Adam and gives him charge to work and manage the garden. He is to have dominion over the earth. In other words, God gave Adam a job. Granted, Adam got to skip the interview process and couldn't exactly provide any references, but God chose him for the job and gave him a clear job description. Adam enjoyed his work and literally the fruit of his labor. Then we know what happened next. Sin entered the world. What this tells us is that work is good. It was created before the fall of man. It is integral to how God designed us and was always part of his plan for us. Research supports God's original design that working keeps our bodies healthy, our minds sharp, and lengthens our lifespan. So, we now know that work is good, but does that mean retirement is bad? The only mention of retirement found in the Bible is in Numbers 8:25, the scripture I shared with you. It refers to the Levites, the priestly tribe of Israel, living off the tithes and offerings of God's people and retiring at the age of 50. There is no other direction found in Scripture that would suggest we should retire. That doesn't mean retirement is sinful, but it does mean it should be viewed from a different perspective. Repurposement, not retirement. So the problem with today's attitudes towards retirement is that it completely negates an integral aspect of God's design, that we were created to work. It also normalizes something that was never intended to be normal, not working. Now, please hear me out. I don't think retirement is evil, wrong, or bad. But I believe that retirement for Christians should mean freeing time to devote to serving others more fully without the necessity of getting paid for it. It is the time to repurpose how and why you invest your time and resources. I will warn you that the attitudes I recommend you adopt are contrary to what our society will say that you deserve. However, Romans tells us what we really deserve, to pay the ultimate price for our own sins. By grace, Christ paid that price for us, and we now have the opportunity to live our lives contrary to the rest of the world. To adopt the right attitude, we first need to examine how we view work. We should see it as a blessing, a daily outward expression of worship, and an opportunity to learn more about God's brilliant and unique design for each of us. It's God's provision for you and your family, even if it's not what you dreamed of doing. Those who live for the weekend and find no satisfaction in their work are robbing themselves of a blessing. Ecclesiastes 2:24 says, "A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil." This too I see is from the hand of God. Be joyful in your work, and remember, it's the Lord you're working for, not man. Colossians 3:23. Next, we need to examine our attitude about retirement. Instead of quitting it all and moving to Florida when the first piece of mail from AARP arrives in your mailbox, be diligent to save and willing to serve. If we adopt this mindset and devote the last years or decades of our lives to serving others, then the Lord really will find us doing His work when He returns. Now, regardless of whether or not you plan on exiting the workforce, I would encourage you to save like you're going to. We talked already about what the Bible says about saving. If you are forced to stop working for a health reason, a healthy savings and investment account will allow you to support yourself without assistance from the government or your children. If you continue working, you will have cash flow to finance the kingdom. Remember, ministry, all types of ministry, costs money. The Bible is clear that we must save. It is also clear that we are not to hoard. So, work to put together a plan to save for retirement now. The earlier you start, the better. But if you're in your later years and haven't started saving, now is still the time to start. I've got a couple of questions for you to answer as you plan. Number 1, why should I retire? Number 2, what will I do? Number 3, what if my retirement plan fails? And 4, what if I can't retire? Stewards save because they trust the Lord, not because they trust money. So when it comes to retirement, remember that you are saving to be used by God, not to spend frivolously. Remember that He is able to make all grace abound to you, so that always having all sufficiency in everything, you may have an abundance for every good deed. That's 2 Corinthians 9:8. So the right retirement is to be willing to serve. I believe it is best to try to continue to work and or volunteer in some capacity. It's good for your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul. More and more seniors are launching what's known as encore careers in retirement, venturing into new fields of business with years of experience and more cash to get something off the ground. Maybe you are passionate about a project and can devote time and energy to it in retirement. Perhaps you want to mentor younger employees in your field to help them excel in the workplace. Ultimately, we don't get to take anything with us when we go to heaven except who we are or who we were. So let's embrace our roles as stewards and devote our lives to managing the time, money, and relationships that God has blessed us with. Join me in a word of prayer. Lord, many of our members have come to an important crossroads in their life, and I know that there are many unknown opportunities in their horizons. I pray that you would take them by the hand and guide them along the path that you would have them to go. We thank you today, God, that your word has been a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And as many of us now step out into the unknown, I pray that you would continue to guard and guide the way that we take, and thank you that you have scheduled every day of our life, including the unknowns in this thing called retirement. Lord, I pray that this may be a wonderful new beginning and not the end of the road that is so often the case when retirement arrives. Lord, help us all to seize every opportunity that arises and to explore the skills and gifts that you have given us so that they may be used to glorify your name. Father, we trust you to be with us in sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth, and pray that we will submit day by day to the leading of your Spirit and simply rest in your love, knowing that you are our light and our life, our way and our end. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said,
Amen.
Let me give you the numbers from around the world here real quick. We'll start in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. The Dow's up 199 points. The NASDAQ is up 221, which for the NASDAQ is a little over 2%. S&P 500 is up 44 points, a little over 1%. And the Russell 2000 up 23 points, a little over 1.25%. In the commodity basket, crude oil up $1.32, trading 75.08 last. It's a gain of 1.75%. Gold up $6, trading 18.75.30 last. Silver down a dime, trading 23.88 last. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of 153 points. The Shanghai rose 18. The Hang Seng gained 396. That's almost 2%. Hang Seng's been on fire for the past week. We had one down day last week, didn't we? Now, in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 25, the DAX up 182, which is 1.25%. The CAC up 46. So that gives us a green day in Asia, a green day in the UK, and so far, it's a big green Radio Monday here in the US of A. So with that, we'll go to Michael and get a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. After that, I'll be back. We'll look at the logic alerts, the concierge trade alerts, the big picture, and at any point during the broadcast, whether Michael's on or I'm on, if you have a question, just type it in the question box so we can answer it for you. Nobody sees what you type except myself or Michael when he's here. Valerie, if she should pop in. Bert, if he should pop in. So don't be shy. If you have a question, type it in, get an answer. That's how you learn. Michael, it's all yours.
All right, here we go then. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 9th day of January 2023. 21st birthday for one of my children, and I don't know how old Joe is, but there's another birthday too in my family. Anyway, if you've not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Click right here where it says sign up for your free 5-day training and trading, 9:30 to 11:30. Click on that, and you will be brought to this page. All right, fill out this form, and then you'll be sent a link to get into the room every morning until your trial is up. Oops, until your trial is up. So yeah, that's all you have to do to take the free trial. Once you take the free trial, though, come in here and download the trading platform. Okay, you want to make sure you get the trading platform downloaded early on in your trial. I know I have one install meeting, actually 2, 3 install meetings going on this afternoon. But we encourage you to download the trading platform as soon as you can. Okay, as soon as you start taking the trial, download the trading platform. If you need help with it, contact us before you get frustrated with it. All right, contact us before you do anything, and we'll set up a meeting with you and we'll get it done for you. Okay, you don't want that to be a stumbling block in the next step moving forward. All right, look at the trade rules here. In the trade rules, you'll see all the rules that I follow in the room again and again and again in the morning session. You can watch some of these videos. These are me following those rules again and again and again in the morning session. Okay. Today we had an okay day. It wasn't great. It was a green day. It's almost a blue day, but we got our goal early on. Today's one of those days where you want to quit when you get your goal for the day. There wasn't a ton of opportunity, but again, you have to remember that I'm spending half of the morning session not trading, just going over training materials. So if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today we made 2 ticks in crude, we lost 10 in gold, we made 8 on the ES, put us at plus 20 on the morning session. Today it took 17 minutes and 6 trades to get to $100 a contract. So I was at 100 and I ended at 20. It happens. Friday I was at 187.50 and I ended at 1,520. Today we took 14 trades in total. So on the month now we're at $2,805. That's over 5 trading days, averaging $561 per contract per 2-hour trading day. We've now gone 312 days since our last negative day in the room. And we're 5 out of 5 getting our goals so far this year. Okay, 5 out of 5 getting our goals so far this year. Now these numbers are kind of updated, but there's not really any information to give you here. So because it's monthly and annually right now, we're in the first month, there's not really much to give you on that. If you were here for the end of the year last year, this is how we ended last year, $238,558, averaging $969 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Now, this year is going to be less than that because I'm going to spend about half the time trading, and the other half of the time training. Or last year I didn't do it that way. And we had a ton of volatility with Ukrainian crises that happened, the war over there in Ukraine, that started last year. The volatility was just incredible, right? So this year is going to be different. Still going to be good. It's just going to be different. All right, so let's get into the trades. On gold, we only had the one trade, and it was a stop out right here. We went short right here and never went far enough into profit to get our goal to break, to get our stop to break even. Then it stopped me out, completely turned around, and then just got sideways. This was when I was in the training. I said I thought it was going to just go down from here. I didn't know where it was going to go. I thought it might go down to here, and so I drew that level in, and it did go down to there. Since then, it's done nothing until just recently. Right in here, you could have taken a couple of short trades, and it would have been okay in there. Now we got to check. Got to check the expiration date on gold. It's getting ready to roll over to the next contract, and I think that's going to be coming up here in a couple of weeks. In the crude oil, we had some trades today. We started out right here in the pre-market. We missed this trade, and then we took this one all in the pre-market. We got 2 ticks profit on that one. Then right here, we picked up 8 more ticks to get us to 10, then 10 more ticks to get us to 20. This is where we got our goal for the day. It was right here. All right, then in here we went from 20 to 22, and then we stopped out right there, and then we stopped out in the opposite direction right there. Now this stop out was pretty much to the tick right here. We did take the trade right after it, and we picked up, actually I didn't write down what we picked up on the trade right after it. So we are a little better than 20. We stopped out there to the tick, and then on this one, I'm trying to remember what we picked up on this. The down close was here at 19. I'll have to go back and look. Yeah, I have to go back and look. But we did end up a little bit better than 20 on the morning session. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm not going to write it in. We thought in here, we didn't know what it was going to do, but we thought it was going to go down. This was the closest thing we had to a trade setup, and I thought it was going to go down to this level right here. When I stopped everything and shut it all off, I thought this level right here is what it would go down to, and it did go down there. And then when we started things back up, we stopped out again right here. Okay, and that we went from 22 down to 12 down to 2 on the crude oil. All right, and I don't know what I got on that one. That I should have written that down, because we never went from 20 up to 22, then down to 12. Then I think we went up right there to like 18. And we should have gone down to probably 6, but it doesn't really matter. We did stop out again here, again to the tick, and then it went down and did what it should have done. And then we get into the break, and let's see, during the break, we had nothing really good during the break. It's gone really sideways here since then. In here, there were a couple of trend line trades you could have taken, but it's hard to find context today. There were no news events, and it was really hard to find some context today. With the ES, it seemed to be bullish pretty much all morning. There was one little spot right here where it went bearish, but we started out here. We missed a trade there. We missed a trade here. We took a break even there. We took a break even there. We picked up 8 ticks right there. Missed a trade. We picked up something right there, and I didn't write it down. This was during the training. I thought it was going to go down and then move up, and it did go down and then move up. I'm trying to, I don't know. Well, we ended up with much more than 20 today, probably 5 times that. But either way, in here, we didn't get anything else that we could do in the morning session. Okay, and since then, it's given one red off a red right here. Once it established some context, one red off a red right here, and nothing else since. So the markets were kind of tough trading today. All right, nothing was all that easy, and and yeah, we're glad to get our goal. I'm glad we got our goal early on, and then we were able to trade and stay positive. So if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 9th day of January 2023. We made 2 ticks in crude. We lost 10 in gold. We made 8 on the ES. That put us at plus 20 on the morning session. Today it took 17 minutes and 6 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, it was up $100 a contract, and I took a total of 14 trades. So on a month now, we are at $2,805 a contract. That's over 5 trading days, averaging $561 per contract per 2-hour trading day. I've gone 312 days since our last negative day, and we've gotten our goal on 5 out of 5 days so far this year. All this information down here isn't all that meaningful right now, but so far we've traded just about an hour this month, 59 minutes so far this month to get to $2,805. So we're at $2,805 an hour right now, roughly. Excuse me. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com, right over here in the right-hand column. Click on that. Right here, sign up for your free 5-day training and trading now. Click that. You'll be brought to this page right here. Fill out this little form, and you'll be sent a link to get into the training in the morning, prior to the training in the morning. Until your trial is up, all right? For 5 consecutive business days, until your trial is up, right? That's all you have to do. Now, if you're going to take the trial, you should download the trading platform. Click here, watch trading, look at the trade rules, print that out, print a dozen copies out, stick them everywhere, so you know what the trade rules are, and you're going to do those trade rules again and again and again, okay? And that's it. With that, guys, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlook South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
I'm ready.
And it's on its way back out. Excellent.
All right. Recap of the recap.
Today, it took 17 minutes and 6 trades to get to $100 per contract.
Good job.
Thank you.
All righty. Logic 247. This is the first Sunday night open we've had in a couple weeks because of the holidays. We've been opening on Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we're back to a regular work schedule for this week. And I think we have another holiday coming up here in the pretty near future. Logic 247 is our 24/7 around-the-clock Emini alert service. It includes not only E-minis, but crude, gold, silver, euro, and the bonds. Over the last 232 weeks, we've issued over 13,200 individual handcrafted alerts. Each alert gives you an entry price, an initial target designed to get your goal for the day, and in many cases a second, a third, a fourth target, and then of course a final trade to target. If it's a long trade, the final trade to target will always be the weekly trading zone above. If it's short, it will be the weekly trading zone below. Now, any alerts that are issued on Sunday night are based on the previous week's zones, because the weekly zones are not published for our members until Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. We've published the zones since December 14th of 2009. So we have well over 13 years of data on exactly how price behaves around the weekly trading zones. And what's changed since December 14th of 2009? Absolutely nothing. Since this recap was done at 6:45 a.m., okay, now since the recap was issued, there have been more alerts issued. Some of the ones waiting have been triggered, and Valerie will post a new recap later this afternoon, and then she will update it again one final time before she heads off to bed. So the recap gets updated 3 times a day. So when the afternoon recap comes out, you'll see this number changed, this number changed, this number changed, and probably even this number changed. So as of 6:45 a.m., since the markets opened last night, we issued a total of 17 alerts. We're still waiting on 9 as of 6:45 a.m. We had 8 actionable alerts, of which 3, or 38%, would have been stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade, less when possible, based on market structure, and a simple 3-step process we teach all of our passport holders in their unlimited one-on-one private mentoring sessions. Now, last week, here's how we finished up last week. Week 231. We issued a total of 98 alerts, and it was a 4-day week. 15 never triggered. We had 83 actionable alerts, of which 8 or 10% would have been stopped out based on that maximum risk profile that I just explained. Now, an alert looks like this. Alert number 13,185 was a long on silver. B is buy, T is initial target, and then the weekly trading zone is the final trade to target. Remember, the initial target, the T, is designed to help you get your goal for the day. When you see a red X, that's one that got stopped out. On the NQ, this was a buy. The initial target on the NQ actually gives you $200 per contract traded. That's because the NQ tends to be extremely volatile. Then we had a second target or potential resistance, a third target or potential resistance, and then the final trade to target. At the time the recap was done, price had risen to 1104.3. The third target was 1104.0. So we hit the initial target, which was good for $200, and then we hit the second target, which was good for $400. So that's $600 per contract traded. And when you see an alert that has Z's, that means that one never triggered. B is buy, S is sell. See if we can find some S's up here early in the week. Yeah, here's an NQ. The idea here was to sell 10,840. Initial target 10,830. It's 200 bucks. And then price continued to drop all the way down to 10,973. 10,811. I think she meant that to be 10,773. Yeah, there's a typo right there. So from 840 to 800, that's $800 per contract traded. And then basically another $300 on top of that. B is buy, S is sell. You'll either see a thumbs up, you'll see a red X, that means it stopped out, or you'll see those Z's, which means it never actually triggered. And then last week began week 232. We had two gap fills that just barely stopped out. Now, did they go on to complete the journey? Yeah. But we only record and recap the first trigger. Once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability of it triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times. Last night, this was a long on crude, 74.60. The initial target at 74.70 would give you your goal for the day, but price continued all the way to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th target. From 74.60 to 76.50. That's $1,900 per contract traded. Now, the logic alerts are based on current price action, but there's time built into each alert to give you a chance to receive the alert, study your 30-minute roadmap chart, and then as price approaches the entry, you'll look at your other screen where you have your 7-tick range execution chart, and you'll execute the trade exactly as you're taught every day in the live training room. Now, along with the logic alerts, which come out around the clock, because futures trade around the clock, and we have traders around the globe, our day session is their night session and vice versa. We also have our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. They are a little bit different. Number one, they're based on historic price action. And when historic price action meets current price action, that's where you find some of your best high probability, low risk trade setups. Now, the CTA numbers, once they're posted, they're good for the entire session until the next set of numbers come out the following evening, which will be tonight shortly after the Globex Open. I was running later than normal last night, had some things going on, so they didn't get posted until 8:10 p.m. Eastern, which is roughly 2 hours later than normal. Once price trades above or below a CTA number, it will most likely trigger multiple times. You'll see that when we go to the charts. It is far better to get your goal for the day on the way to the CTA number. Now, we cover all the same markets with the CTAs as we do with the logic alerts. Chances are you only trade one or maybe two markets. If you're not a member and you're not on a trial, you don't have these numbers last night. However, if you'd like to take a screenshot right now, you can, because in a few minutes we're going to go to the charts and we're going to walk through each and every one of the markets to see exactly what happened with the CTA numbers. When this report is published, what you need to do is go to the markets that you trade. We'll use the ES as an example at 8:10 p.m. Eastern, make a note on your 30-minute chart where price was. It's always going to be somewhere between this number and this number. If price gets above the BBC and starts trending up towards 39.38, that's bullish. So our strategy is going to look for opportunities to be long the market. On the other hand, if price gets below the BBC and starts trending down towards 38.80, that's bearish. And so our strategy will look for opportunities to be short the market. In either case, that's where you'll use Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room every trading day to yourself find opportunities to be long or short the market. Our goal for you is that you become self-sufficient, that you spend enough time studying the alerts, studying your 30-minute chart, so that you begin to see the windows of opportunity yourself, and you'll never again need anybody to tell you when to get in or when to get out, because the chart will tell you when to get in and when to get out. As a lifetime member, you'll have lifetime access to not only the indicators, the alerts, but also the weekly trading zones. Once you understand how price behaves around the weekly zones, they will become one of the most important tools in your trading toolbox. Now, when we go to my charts, you're going to see last week's zones, because any alert issued last night was based on last week's zones. Any alerts issued today after 6:15 a.m. Eastern are based on this week's zones. So today, when we go to the charts, you'll see last week's zones, but then on tomorrow's broadcast, you'll see this week's zones. So you'd have plenty of time to take a screenshot. So let's pull this down. And before we go to the charts, ten things you need to know today, January the 9th, 2023. President Biden visited El Paso, Texas on Sunday in his first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border as president. Only took 2 years. Biden facing pressure to address a surge of migrants trying to enter the United States through Mexico, many carrying deadly fentanyl, last week announced that he was expanding the Trump administration Title 42 rule, allowing border agents to turn away asylum seekers as a COVID-19 precaution. Now, before a federal judge struck it down, President Biden was trying to do away with Title 42. I guess if you can't beat him, join him. Biden met with Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican critic of his immigration policies. Abbott gave Biden a letter accusing him of fueling the chaos at the border with his failure to enforce immigration laws. Biden said he learned that authorities on the border need a lot of resources. We're going to get it for them. Thanks, Joe. Meanwhile, the vice president and border czar was rumored to be cackling from an undisclosed location. Number 2, from the New York Times. Thousands of supporters of far-right former Brazilian President Bolsonaro stormed the South American nation's Congress, Supreme Court, and presidential offices on Sunday in an explosion of anger fueled by false allegations that Bolsonaro was ousted in a stolen election. Security forces arrested at least 200 and cleared out the last rioters Sunday night. Brazil's newly sworn-in president, known as Lula, beat Bolsonaro in a close October vote. Lula said Bolsonaro's refusal to accept the results as legitimate triggered the riot, which was reminiscent of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol by supporters of former Donald Trump, who falsely claimed the 2020 U.S. presidential elections were stolen from Trump. Is that life imitating art, or just life imitating life? Number 3. From USA Today. Ukraine on Sunday rejected Russia's claim that it had killed 600 Ukrainian troops in the Donetsk region with a missile strike. Journalists also disputed Moscow's assertion that the attack hit a building housing Ukrainian soldiers in retaliation for a Ukrainian strike that killed dozens of Russian soldiers in the nearby city of Makivka last week. A spokesperson for Ukraine's forces in the eastern region told the Associated Press the country's armed forces were not affected, but the missiles damaged civilian infrastructure. Sunday's missile strike came shortly after a 36-hour unilateral ceasefire that President Vladimir Putin declared in observance of Russian Orthodox Christmas. Russia reportedly did not respect its own ceasefire. Not only did they not respect their ceasefire, they went on to brag about killing 600 Ukrainian troops during the ceasefire, and journalists in the area say it's just not true. Number 4 from the New York Times. The House, now controlled by Republicans, is expected to vote this week on creating a special judiciary subcommittee to investigate the FBI and national security agencies and what GOP lawmakers call the weaponization of the federal government. Representative Chip Roy, Republican of Texas, who delayed Representative Kevin McCarthy's election as Speaker, indicated in an interview that the panel was part of the deal McCarthy's hard-right opponents reached in exchange for dropping their challenge and backing McCarthy. The subcommittee will be overseen by incoming Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, an ally of former President Donald Trump. Roy said McCarthy promised to give the subcommittee as many resources as the House January 6 committee got. I wonder. We'll see. Number 5 from the Washington Post. Prince Harry appeared in more interviews Sunday to promote his new memoir, Spare, accusing his father, King Charles III, brother Prince William, and stepmother Camilla, the Queen Consort, and their PR teams of leaking some of the most heinous, horrible things that have been printed about him and his wife, Meghan Markle. The Duke of Sussex appeared on the British network ITV and CBS's 60 Minutes, said when an article in the British press about Harry or Meghan includes a royal source, that is actually the palace itself covering their tracks. Buckingham Palace has repeatedly declined to comment on Harry's memoir coming out tomorrow. He was scheduled to appear on Good Morning America today. Number 6, Washington Post. The new coronavirus variant, XBB.1.5, which features mutations helping it spread more easily than other variants, jumped from 2% of U.S. COVID-19 cases in early December to more than 27% in the first week of January. The World Health Organization has called the new variant the most transmissible version of the Omicron variant yet. XBB.1.5 is now believed to account for more than 70% of cases in the Northeast. There is no evidence the new variant causes more severe illness than other strains, but it has caused a new problem for public health officials: fresh misinformation blaming vaccines for the rise of new variants. And because I've been warned by YouTube, I will make no comment on that. Number 7, from Reuters. California residents brace Sunday for what forecasters warned was a relentless parade of cyclones, bearing down on northern and central parts of the state already drenched by several brutal recent storms. Heavy rains and powerful winds in the earlier storms left at least 7 people dead. Our prayers are with their families. And hundreds of thousands without power. They also are in our prayers. An airborne stream of dense ocean moisture called an atmospheric river, combined with a vast low-pressure system known as a bomb cyclone, to cause flooding and record snowfall. Reuters said the storms demonstrated how warmer air and sea temperatures caused by climate change are generating dangerous weather. I'll pass on any commentary there. Number 8, CNN. If you want to know what I really think, log into our private social media channel on Telegram. Number 8, actor Adam Rich, who became famous as a child star on the TV drama 8 is Enough, died over the weekend at his home in Los Angeles. He was 54. His family did not release the cause of death. Rich played Nicholas, the youngest child in the Bradford family, on the show. After 8 is Enough, he had roles in 70s and 80s TV shows and movies, including Fantasy Island, Chips, and Small Wonder. He stepped away from the show, or show business, for a decade after making his last TV role on an episode of Baywatch in 1993, but later returned for occasional appearances, including the CNN series The History of the Sitcom in 2021. Now, a reminder to everyone. Let me pop this out and just type it right in. If audio drops, just go to youtube.com/CFRN. Okay, that went to everybody that's logged into our platform. So if audio drops, there's nothing I can do about it in the middle of the show. But we are simulcasting, as we do every day on our YouTube channel. So just type that into your browser, pick up right where you left off. Number 9, from the New York Times. Intrigan, I guess that's how you pronounce it, exceeded expectations with a $30.2 million box office haul in North America during its opening weekend, becoming the first hit movie released in 2023. It trailed only blockbuster Avatar: The Way of Water, which crossed the $500 million mark just over 3 weeks after its debut. Intrigan, which the New York Times described as a campy PG-13 horror movie starring a mean girl robot, received 94% positive reviews according to Rotten Tomatoes. The Universal Blumhouse atomic monster film got a boost from an aggressive and creative marketing campaign that included a battle between an account attributed to M3 Gan and one controlled by another terrifying big screen doll, Chucky. You remember Chucky. And number 10, the sad one as usual, CNN. Russell Banks, author of award-winning novels including Affliction and The Sweet Hereafter, died in upstate New York over the weekend. The Associated Press reported Sunday, citing his editor, Dan Halpern. He was 82. Halpern said Banks, a professor emeritus at Princeton University, has been undergoing treatment for cancer. Banks' fiction touched on the dreams and downfalls of a wide range of characters, from blue-collar workers in his native Northeast to the radical abolitionist John Brown in Cloudsplitter. The writer Joyce Carol Oates, a former Princeton colleague, wrote on Twitter, "I loved Russell and loved his tremendous talent and magnanimous heart. Cloudsplitter was his masterpiece, but all his work is exceptional. Our thoughts, hearts, and prayers are with the friends and family of Russell Banks. May you rest in peace." Let's do the charts. All right. We have been in a downtrend. The high was put in on March 29th. The low was put in on October 13th. We've had a number of failed attempts over the past year to break out of the downtrend. Each one has failed spectacularly. Now, if you were watching last week, we kept talking about red and falling, getting below price, which is potential support. And then as red and falling turned to blue and climbing, as it does, just as blue and climbing turns to red and falling, price on Friday ran all the way up to the BBC. And on Friday's show we discussed that it would be extremely important as to whether or not price could close above the daily BBC. BBC simply stands for Bull Bear Cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and anticipate higher prices. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and anticipate lower prices. We spent 14 days consolidating at the 38% reverse fib. We opened last night, ground higher, and actually overcame the most obvious resistance at the 38% reverse fib. Where is the next major resistance? Obviously the high of the session, followed by the 24% fib extension and the previous bearish cross. The red and blue indicator is referred to as, it's called the CFMA1 because you had to give it a name, but I just call it red and falling, blue and climbing. When price is below the BBC and you have red and falling, that's some good short trading. And when price is above the BBC accompanied by blue and climbing, that's some great long trading until the black line, which is called the step line, crosses blue and climbing or crosses red and falling. That's when you can anticipate a change in direction. Now, I'll tell you what you don't hear anywhere else. I tell you every day because there's always somebody new in the audience. The markets can be incredibly intimidating and overwhelming. So much to learn, so many thousands of indicators and oscillators, the trend, the tricks, the stochastics, the Keltner bands. What's a person to do? Well, you can spend years trying to learn all that stuff, or you can take all that complication and just put it out of your mind. And while trading will never be easy, every day we show you how it can be simple. You only need to know enough about the markets to reach your goal for the day, and then have the self-discipline to put the mouse away. We start with the daily chart each day because institutional traders watch daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I watch 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. Why? Size matters. The institutions, the hedge funds, the Goldman Sachs of the world, their accounts are denominated in hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, whereas the typical retail trader has an account denominated in thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So the institutions can handle a much deeper drawdown than a retail trader. They can also stay with a profitable position much longer than a retail trader. So even though we don't execute trades off the daily chart, by spending 2 minutes with the daily chart before you start looking for trade opportunities on your smaller time frame, will let you know which way the institutional money is blowing. So when we opened last night, we steadily moved higher till we put in the high of the day at 39.73. We've pulled back, but when you have a move like that, a retracement is perfectly normal. What remains to be seen is, will we close at the high of the day or the 24% reverse fib, or will price backpedal and close below the 38% reverse fib? If so, this could be another head fake, of which we've had so many over the past year. And that this right here could either be the beginning of a run towards the 50% reverse fib, or it could be nothing more than a failed attempt to break out of the downtrend. And only time can tell you the answer. So in the meantime, with the knowledge we glean from the daily chart, we go to our 30-minute roadmap to find windows of opportunity, and then we use our 7-tick range chart that you see Michael use in the live training room every day to actually execute your trades. Trading's not easy, but it can be simple. You do not have to learn everything there is to know about the markets. You simply need to pick a market or two, and we'll teach you what you need to know in order to reach your goal for the day. The learning curve stops there. It doesn't matter what the talking heads on TV say. It doesn't matter those 10 emails you got today about the latest, greatest discovery, the crystal ball that allows you to read tomorrow's headlines today. That's just a lot of nonsense. When God created Adam, he did not give Adam the ability to change the past or know the future. And those two things are inextricably linked for eternity. So even if you don't trade the S&P, let's say you trade Google or Walmart or Amazon. Maybe you trade Bitcoin or Ethereum. Maybe you trade the British pound or the euro. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames, from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. Now, why does anyone else tell you that? Because the more complicated they make the market, the more things they can sell you to solve problems that don't even really exist, except in the minds of those willing to believe the BS. We've got one thing, the passport. Lifetime membership. No recurring fees of any kind. It's your all-access pass to everything we do, everything we've ever done, and whatever we do in the future. No upsells, no recurring fees, no new shiny objects to buy. Once you purchase your CFRN passport, you'll never have to spend another dime on trading stuff, because not only will you have the knowledge, the tools, and the training to reach your goal for the day, you'll have access to around-the-clock support and unlimited one-on-one mentoring. All right, the vertical line you'll see on these 30-minute roadmap charts separates today, Monday, which began last night, right here. Now, when we talked about the gap close, we needed a drop to there. Didn't quite make it. Chances are, before the week is out, the gap will fill. On the indices, gaps almost always fill. If not in a couple hours, usually in the same session, and if not in the same session, certainly within a couple days. As you can see, the step line has crossed blue and climbing, and that tells us that if we're long, we need to take our profits when that happens, because price is going to pull back to the BBC, or at least attempt to pull back to the BBC. Reminder, these are last week's zones on my chart. Tomorrow we'll have this week's zones, because the alerts issued last night, both logic and CTA, were based on last week's zones, because this week's zones aren't published until 6:15 a.m. Eastern every Monday morning. On Monday, you should hold on to both last week's zones and this week's zones. By Tuesday, price has typically gravitated to the new zones. So here's where the market opened. We just kind of traded sideways. It was pretty quiet, sort of non-eventful. And then we pulled back to the BBC. This is one of the most important things you need to learn about our strategy. On your 30-minute roadmap chart, the pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't. It held here, and here, and here, and here. And then it held here, and then it held here. We know eventually price will trade through the BBC, and price will then begin creating legs in the opposite direction. That's how price works. Leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement. Every market, every time frame. That includes individual stocks, crypto, and Forex. Now, I said earlier, it's better to get your goal for the day on the way to the CTA than to wait for price to actually trade through. Once it does trade through, there's a greater probability of it triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times. And so on the open of this candle here, or back here, once we overcame red and falling, 39.26 up to 39.34. That's 8 points. You only need 2 points a day out of the S&P to reach your goal for the day. Once we traded through the CTA number, we ran up from 39.38 to 41.25. That's 3.25 points. You only need 2. Price then dipped back below, continued higher, and took us all the way to the trade to target at 39.59. That's just shy of $1,000 per contract traded. Now we anticipate price will attempt to pull back to the BBC. Of the 13,200 plus alerts in the Logic 247 channel, every one is a trend trade as defined by price, the 30-minute chart, and the BBC. If price is above the BBC, there will only be long alerts. If price is below the BBC, there will only be short alerts. So, counter trend trades aren't illegal, immoral, or fattening. They simply don't have the same high probability, low risk probability of a trend trade. I would much rather trade with the wind at my back as opposed to trying to swim upstream. Okay? So we'll be patient. Price will either pull back here and hold, then we'll trade the next leg back up, or buyers will come in here, and as we take out this high, then we'll trade the area above. If price fails to hold on its pullback to the BBC, if it manages to pull all the way back, we'll wait for price to take out these lows, and then we'll begin issuing short alerts in the Logic channel all the way down to the current weekly zone. So you could get your goal for the day on the way, be done for the day, put your mouse away. Or you can wait for it to trigger, as it did. Once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability it's going to trigger multiple times than not. Only 3 things happen at a weekly trading zone. The most common thing is consolidation. That's about 70% of the time. Second most common is rejection. The third and least likely, only about 10% of the time, is the slice. That's when a candle slices through the zone like it's not even there. When the slice runs out of steam, it will typically retrace back to the zone it sliced through, just as it is done here, and then continue in the direction of the slice. But because the step line has crossed from the left side to the right side of blue and climbing, we're very likely to see a pullback to the BBC. And again, the pullback holds more often than not, so we expect it to hold until proven otherwise. On the Dow, which is going to look very much like the S&P. The indices typically look, they don't follow each other in lockstep. There's no one index that always moves first. But the S&P 500 is the bellwether, and whatever the S&P 500 does, ultimately the other markets are going to do as well. Sometimes they may underperform, sometimes they may exaggerate, but at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, it's going to look almost identical. So, once price got above red and falling here, this candle opened at 33,839 and ran up to 33,887. That's your goal for 2.5 days. Then price, okay, pull back to the BBC here. Actually ran all the way up to 33,910. And then it hit the target. Pull back to the BBC. Traded through the target from 920 to 950. It's 30 points, $50 a point, $150 per contract traded. Then price got back below the number, triggered again. This time it ran up to 33,976. And then it got back below the number again and ran up to 34,080. From here to here is $500 per contract traded. No, I'm sorry. That's not true. Hey Alexa, what's 160 times 5?
160 times 5 is 800.
Okay, $800 per contract traded. From here to here. 80 and 80 is 160. 33,920 plus 80 takes you to 3,400. That's 80 points. And then 34080, that's another 80 points, so that's 160 times 5. The Dow pays $5 a point. The S&P pays $5 a point. The Russell pays $5 a point. Market open, very quiet, pull back to the BBC, the pullback held, goal for the day. Price then hit the target, retraced to the BBC, the pullback held. We then triggered again, and again, and almost made it to the trade 2 target. 17, hey Alexa, 17 times 50.
17 times 50 is 850.
So from here to here is $850 per contract traded. Now, I keep saying you only need 2 points a day in the S&P and the Russell. With crude, you need 10 ticks. With gold, you need 10 ticks. Whatever market you like to trade, even if it's individual stocks or crypto or forex. Hang on one second, guys. Always something. Okay. So we trigger and we trigger and we trigger. Remember, once price trades through, you can expect it to trigger multiple times. Or you can just get your goal on the way, be done for the day, put your mouse away. That's how you make trading simple, in case you were wondering. NQ. Price opened, came up to the weekly zone, consolidated for many hours. We had a pull back to the BBC, which held, and it held, and it held, and then it triggered, and from 1200 it went up to 1205. NQ pays $20 a point. That's $100 per contract traded right there in that little wick. And then from 11,200 it traded up to 11,385. That's 185 points. Hey Alexa, 185 times 20.
185 times 20 is 3,700.
From here to here is $3,700 per contract traded. The step line has crossed over, so the potential for a pullback to the BBC is very good. Okay. However, I won't issue in logic any counter trend trades. I will wait for price to reach the BBC, and once I'm confident the pullback has held, I will then issue alerts on the long side. However, if buyers were to come in here and push us above the high of the session and above blue and climbing, then we would trade this area up here. Okay. This candle opened here at 63, ran up to 85. It's $400 per contract traded. Now, when you become a passport holder, you don't start trading real money right away. And that's humbling for some people, and some people can't deal with that because they've been at this for 10 years and they've spent tens of thousands of dollars on stuff, and they're still not consistently profitable. Unless you're willing to change your thinking, you'll never change your trading, and you ultimately won't change your life. As long as you go down the same path, you'll end up in the same place. It's that simple. The same recipe will always bake the same cake. You have to find out what's keeping you from being consistently profitable. Let us teach you our methodology and strategy, how to read our indicators, how to read the chart. You have 2 hours of live training every day, around-the-clock support via Telegram, and access to unlimited one-on-one mentoring. It's up to you to take advantage of the resources at your disposal. Again, membership is lifetime, no recurring fees, no new shiny objects to buy. Don't you hate it when people insult your intelligence like that? You go to buy something, some sexy set of indicators, it's going to change the world. And as you go to check out, it's like, well, you've made a smart decision. You really should get this oscillator to go along with it. Oh, it's only $19.95. Okay, add it in the shopping cart. Then another pop-up, and then another one, and then another one, until you reach your breaking point and abandon your shopping cart, or you finally get the stones to just say no, and you check out paying a whole lot more than you thought you were going to pay when you click that link in the email you got. I promised you the world, and in most cases, delivers diddly squat. We don't just sell you some software and a PDF and wish you the best. No, we're hanging in there with you for life. Not only in the live training room, not only in the mentoring sessions, but also in the Thursday night members only workshops. Now, each new member gets the 24/20 blueprint. It's designed to help you go from 1 to 20 contracts over a period of 24 months. So 2 points in the S&P makes you $100 per contract. Once you put together 10 consecutive days in a row in SIM, the blueprint will give you the green light to go live with 1 contract. Now that you've qualified to trade live with our methodology and strategy and indicators, your goal is to increase your account balance by $2 grand. Once you do that, the blueprint will give you the green light to add a second contract. Now, the big difference between the first and second contract is the first contract is funded with your startup capital, but the second contract is funded with profit you earned in the market. Big difference. The blueprint will tell you when it's time to add contract number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10, all the way up to number 20. By then, you've got the hang of it. So those 2 points that made you $100 when you were trading 1 contract once you've earned the right to trade 5 contracts, the same 2 points now make you $500 a day. And once you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, those same 2 points make you $1,000 a day. Now, that's a function of math. Where we come in is teaching you how to consistently take those 2 points out of the market, or the equivalent in any other market. 10 ticks in crude, 10 ticks in gold, 2 points in the Russell, 20 points in the Dow, whatever makes you $100 per contract per day. You don't have to spend all day staring at the charts. What you have to have is patience and self-discipline. You have to ask lots of questions. You have to show up for class. You have to show up for the workshop. You have to book one-on-one mentoring sessions. Now, some people go, man, that sounds like work. This is a business. The more you treat it like a business, the more it will behave like a business. If you treat it like gambling, you will get gambling results. Now, remember what I said about that pullback? Once the step line crosses, okay, here's the NQ, headed for the BBC. How about the ES? Yep, already there. Question now is, does it hold or not? It holds more often than it doesn't. But there's no trade here yet. There's only 3 minutes in the life of this candle. That's a lot of selling pressure in 3 minutes. But don't be surprised if buyers make a stand here. And don't be surprised if buyers don't make a stand. It's a beautiful thing about futures, is you can be long, short, all in the same hour if that's what the chart in front of you dictates. There's no uptick rules or any of that other stuff that you find with stocks. You also aren't required to maintain a $25,000 account balance if you are a stock trader and you make 3 round-trip transactions in a week. You're labeled a pattern day trader, and you must maintain a $25,000 account balance. With futures, you can open an account with as little as $2,000 to $3,000. Okay? The rules are different. But our methodology, our strategy, and indicators work across all markets and all time frames. So whatever it is you want to trade, we'll help you do it. The Dow, did it make it back to the BBC yet? Oh, the Dow traded through it. Okay. So where's our window of opportunity on the downside? $33,730 to $33,680. 730 to 680. It's 50 bucks. 50 points. $250 per contract traded. Now this candle hasn't closed yet. There's still 21 minutes left in the life of this candle. This candle could very well close back above the BBC. If it doesn't, this was all a head fake. But that's okay, because we'll show you how to make money on a head fake. Okay, we've covered all the indices, the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ. Let's go to crude oil. This is where the market opened last night. Price got above the BBC, red and falling, quickly turned to blue and climbing. So you had all this room to get your goal for the day. Now, when the price of crude oil moves $1 from, let's say, 74.60, 74.60 to 75.60, that's $1,000 per contract traded. This one candle alone opened at 75.19. We'll call it 75.20. $450 per contract traded till you hit the target. Then price traded through the target. And from 75.65 to 76.60. $900 per contract traded. But what happens once price trades through? It will most often get back below the number and trigger again. And then get back below the number and trigger again. Not all triggers are created equal. When you go long, you want blue and climbing. You see here, even though this was certainly a profitable opportunity, when price moves up to red and falling, we expect that to be resistance. And it was. Price is now traded through the BBC. The pullback held, and the pullback held, and the pullback held, and then we know eventually it'll trade through. So now we'll be watching for a pullback from below. And if that holds, then we'll short down to this area where there will be potential support. Whenever there's a bullish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area, it will almost always be good support, at least the first time down. So that gives you a nice window of opportunity down here. Let's get below those lows. Be real conservative. 74, we'll call it 74.40 to 74.10. 74.40 to 74.10. It's $300 per contract traded in that little rectangle right there. But you see, price has to take out this low. You've got a double bottom here, and then it's got to take out that low and that low, and then you don't expect resistance till you get to the cross. So we actually need to bump the bottom up. It's just above the cross. So we're talking 74.40 down to 74.20. $200 per contract traded. But once you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, that same rectangle is worth $2,000. Gold. Here's where the market opened. This candle right here, guys, gave you your opportunity to get your goal for the day. It opened at 18.75.40 and ran up to 18.80.40. $500 per contract traded on the way to the target. I'll say it again. In 30 minutes, $500 per contract traded. 30 minutes. And once price trades through the CTA number at 1880, it runs up to 1884.40. That's another $440 per contract traded. And then we dip back below the number and we run up to 1885.40. That's $540 per contract traded. Price then pulls back to the BBC. The pullback holds, no surprise, and off we go again to 84.40. That's another $440 per contract traded. Back below the trigger, up we go again to 1883.10. It's $310 per contract traded. But once price got below the BBC, the green line, and pulled away from it, and then pulled back to it, the pullback held. Whether you're pulling from above or pulling from below, pullback holds more often than not. So could you trade down to the low of the previous candle and get your goal for the day? Yeah. That would be a trend trade because we're below the BVC. You could wait for price to get below these swing lows. You got all this area to work with here. You could even let price get below these swing lows. Question is do you have enough patience to do that? 9 out of 10 people don't. They just want to pull the trigger and make money. Yeah, I just want to click the mouse and make money. I want to be a Wall Street big shot. Good luck with that. All right, silver. If you want to get rich quick, you should maybe just buy a lottery ticket. I don't know. Because getting rich quick via trading is a myth. Let's tell the truth. It's a lie. It's not going to happen. Period. I don't care how clever the ad copy is in the email or on the website. You have to learn how to trade. And if you're not willing to learn how to trade, you need to go get another hobby. I don't know, tennis or golf or whatever floats your boat. Now, we never triggered on the long side yet with silver. Never triggered on the short side. However, once silver got above blue and climbing, 2 pennies is $100. This candle opened at 24.10 and ran up to 24.18. That's 8 pennies. That's $400 per contract traded. Could you have stayed with it? Sure. Now price has gotten below, consolidated for hours at the weekly zone. And then where does price go? From zone to zone. When price drops to a zone, we expect support, which we got. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance. Over and over, again and again. That's just how it works. Now remember, on tomorrow's broadcast, you'll see this week's zones. Our members had them this morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So here's where the market opened, and you had all this room to get your goal for the day. Then once you got to the target and traded through it, from 535 to 810 to the tick. But now the step line's crossed over, so what's going to happen? Price is going to pull back to the BVC. Will it hold? Only time will tell. It holds more often than it doesn't. Now the YM was the first one to not hold. The ES so far is not holding. The Russell not holding. In Q, we still don't have the results yet. Still 11 minutes left in the life of this candle. Now the NQ was the leader on the way up today. So if it holds and starts to move higher, you may potentially see these other markets reverse. If it doesn't hold, then where are we going? Back to the low of the day, then the daily BVC, then the daily step line, then the 38% fib extension, which we straddled for 14 consecutive trading days. When you become a passport holder, we teach you how to put the pieces together so that you understand from the top down what the market's trying to do. You see, unlike so many strategies and whatnots out there, we're not trying to outsmart the market. We're not trying to beat the market. The market's always right. every day the market is right. So what our strategy and our indicators teach you to do is to clearly see and understand what the market is doing. Because if you can simply do what the market is doing at any given moment in time, long enough to get your goal for the day, then you can put your mouse away and go do life. And over time, as your account size builds, per the blueprint, you add additional contracts with profit you earned in the market. 2 points in the S&P is $100 with one contract. With 2 contracts, it's 200. With 3 contracts, it's 300. With 4 contracts, it's 400. Same 2 points. With 5 contracts, it's 500. 10, 1,000. 20, 2,000. Now, at 10 contracts, if you can consistently take 2 points a day out of the market, that puts you in the top 3% of wage earners worldwide. Now, that sounds good, so why do 9 out of 10 new traders fail? Because they don't have a teacher. They buy books, they watch YouTube videos. That's no replacement for a living, breathing teacher, putting on, taking off trades, teaching you how to trade. The 9 out of 10 who fail don't have a business plan or a trading plan. In fact, they don't even know they need one, but they do. Our blueprint will walk you through writing your business plan and your trading plan. 9 out of 10 new traders don't have access to private mentoring. Our members have access to unlimited private mentoring. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use, which you own for life, are guaranteed to perform the same across all markets and all time frames. As a passport holder, you'll also receive the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, the Thursday night workshop, all that and much more. It's your all access pass to everything we do, everything we've ever done, whatever we do in the future. To become a lifetime member, go here to eminifuturestrading.com. Couple mouse clicks, you're all signed up. If you have questions, call Valerie at 949-42-EMINI or send an email to support@cfrn.net. Again, until something changes, nothing changes. If you've struggled for years, spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on parlor tricks and circus acts, we all went through that. So I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying, been there, done that. You can piggyback on our mistakes. You can piggyback on our losses. You don't have to go through what we went through, because we went through it for you. All you need to know about the markets is how to get your goal for the day. Nothing more, nothing else. In fact, anything beyond that just clutters your mind. Trading not only gives you the ability to earn an above average income, but it gives you freedom. You can work anywhere on planet Earth where there's a fast, reliable internet connection. And if you can reach your goal in an hour a day, some days it just takes one trade. Some days you got to work it a little bit. Then look at all the time you have to spend with your family, to do the thing that God created you to do, to serve others. Jesus said, I came not to be served, but to serve. Together, every member of CFRN is helping build God's kingdom. each with our own unique calling. Let's wrap it up with a good word for the day. Last week we started about, instead of thinking everything's impossible, oh, I can't do that, I'll never learn how to do that, I'll never be a good trader. We've been talking the last 2 days about thinking possible as opposed to thinking impossible. So let's have another day of it. Genesis 37:9. Then he had another dream. Joseph had 2 dreams. The second was bigger than the first. His first dream was a field of sheaves. The second dream was a sky full of stars. So the word for today is dream one size bigger. Henry Curtis said, make your plans as fantastic as you like, because 25 years from now, they will seem mediocre. Make your plans 10 times as great as you first planned. And 25 years from now, you will wonder why you did not make them 50 times greater. There is only one way to keep growing. Make your goal a step beyond whatever takes you out of your comfort zone. That will force you to keep growing. And it will also set you up to believe God for greater things. Most people want their lives to keep improving, yet they value peace and stability at the same time. They forget that you can't improve and stay the same. Growth means change, and that means challenging the status quo. Thinking possible means you can't settle for what you have now. There will always be people around you who want you to give up your dream and embrace the status quo. Love them, but don't be led by them. As you begin to believe God for greater things, and others try to throw cold water on you, and if you're a trader and you've told one friend or one family member that you plan to become a trader, they've laughed in your face, they've thrown cold water on you, they've told you it's rigged, they've told you it's impossible. I don't know who all these people are that make up CFRN, because they sure seem to be doing real fine. So, don't let them steal your dream. Remember that right now, as you listen to my words, other people around the world are thinking about curing cancer, developing new energy sources, feeding the hungry, improving the quality of life, and winning whole nations for Christ. They are beating the odds and challenging the status quo, and you must do the same. It is possible. With God, all things are possible. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.